Hello everyone, welcome back to Wicca. We are on to the next part of Everything is Energy. Remember, before I go into this is just the way that I studied it, and I'm sure there are many other ways out there. Reading books can help, of course. But I don't practice Wicca. I'm not a Wiccan, but I think it's beautiful. I think it's a very, very peaceful way of being spiritual, definitely. As any good Wiccan knows, everything is energy. There are, of course, many different levels of energy fields. All of these energetic fields, they affect different groups of people, and we have to remember that the energy, it actually overlaps also. The human body and its association to energetic fields for humans will determine how one looks, how one feels, how we bond with another person, because it all gets mingled together. The energetic fields kind of determine why a rock is a rock and why a fish is a fish or looks like a fish. DNA determines what a particular seed will become. That's just the surface though, isn't it? The fact is that some DNA exists in your eye as your heart, but the manifestations have almost nothing at all in common. A concept known as morphogenic. It's a morphogenic field theory, as described, I think it was Rupert Sheldrake, explains why things assume certain forms. The field informs, or rather, sort of communicates, I guess. Everything that's part of it, it all communicates together and it all mushes together, including shape, as it takes to a shape to create a function. And this information goes in both directions, since everything is in the morphogenic field. It's all influenced by this field itself. The morphogenic field influences the accumulation of energy around it to create a system within. So if a monkey learned to wash potatoes before eating them, it would be influence. Every other monkey around it would learn the same behaviour. As the entire troop washes the potatoes, monkeys elsewhere in the world would begin to pick up and then do the same behaviour. That is the theory of the morphogenic energy field. It's about putting that energetic purpose into play and then it being related by transforming onto other beings of the same kind and then them doing it and such and so forth. And then we kind of look at the astrological energy field, which affects all of us. It's science, isn't it? And it's surprisingly accurate, to be fair. I mean, in terms of energy fields, astrological energy field is the largest, isn't it, on the planet? I mean, it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. Such events like Mercury retrograde, which affects us quite a lot. Different moons affects us quite a lot. When a simple planet moves into a different star sign, it seems to affect us quite a lot. This is a massive energy field and it plays such a big part within our lifestyle, our system, the way that we work. If you can begin to work and understand this flow, it's best to research, do lessons, get the knowledge, because if you can work with it, then you're no longer pushing against it. So you're making yourself flow through life a little bit easier. Any type of planetary event is also an energy field of a different kind, even though it's on the astrological level, because there are different planets and they move differently. It has different effects, therefore it's classed as a different energy field. I mean, it affects us all differently anyway, but we will be affected in some way, some shape, some form. We will be affected. This is why some people don't like to watch the news, because on some level they feel the emotional impact, which is true. There's a lot of us like this. Subconsciously, we know that we feel the effects too. Take any sort of attack that's on the TV that is an emotional one worldwide. Everyone feels it. Everyone understands it and relates to it. Violence towards another person, we feel empathy immediately. This is because of energy fields. It's become so common that we recognize what hurts us and what does not, but more importantly, we are now beginning to recognise, and I think before there was a lot that did not, but now, speaking now, there's a lot more that do recognise this is empathy. It's an energetic empathy field, and it plays a really big part in our lives. Then we have the genetic line energy fields. These issues can be passed through DNA or even by just some way of information around the genetic tree. So we all know how we have our family tree that has pictures of the people on. Look at it as a bigger thing. So when you're looking at your family tree and you have these people on this tree, think about that by expanding it and understand that each of that person has a genetic energy field around them. And it does not all go away. It's energy. Some of it stays through our lines, through the years, Information will travel both ways, regardless. And whatever our ancestors sort of haven't dealt with properly, it may linger within our lives. This is just genetic energy and the way it works. It may stay until it has been dealt with. Sometimes it does not heal. But think about that. If that is a fact, and we don't know if it's a fact, this is just all theory and in science, then it's kind of scary, because if it's not dealt with while you're alive and it's in your energetic field, what about your children? And this is why I am always sort of treat people how you want to be treated, because we're creating energy from that, and it's so important to keep that energy positive, I believe. Because if you start giving out negative energy and feeling negative, you don't want to, put that on someone else. You'll be superimposing it on someone else that really probably doesn't need it, and we wouldn't know that, but it's still, to me, if you're going to interact with people, at least be positive and make them feel good, because you wouldn't want to feel like that, So why impose it on someone else? When I say genetic energy field as well, I'm not just talking about mum, dad, I'm talking aunts, cousins, spouses, children, grandchildren, it's anyone within the DNA family. However, there is this theory that if we have sexual intercourse with a partner, our energies are connected for 7 years, even when separated. So even when you're not with them, even if it's a one-night stand, this is why I'm so against sleeping with someone unless it's extremely important. Like, there has to be this super connection, because I do believe the energy lingers, and there is a theory that that energy lingers for 7 years. And think about that. If we're not with that person anymore, it's a long time to have their energy with us. And within this theory comes the impact that this is why we find it hard to move on and get over an ex-partner, because we're still sort of holding on to this energy force that's around us that came from them anyway. So we still feel their presence even though they are not there, which could be the same for a past loved one as well, which it's different though when it's a past loved one. Obviously you want to hold on for as long as you can, even though it may not be healthy to you. It's something that we can't help, we just do it. But when it's a partner that you've had intercourse with and you're wanting to get over them, that's why we tend to find it so hard, because their energy does linger within our energy field and it's intertwined. The spiritual evolution energy fields, and as we know, everybody's kind of evolved, I think, on this. Well, most people have evolved on this level. They have, Earth's always evolving. Every being is also revolving evolving, sorry, not revolving. And we see the earth evolve, we do. But look at humans as well. We are also evolving very, very much, whether it be conscious or subconscious. We don't know that it's happening yet. We are absolutely are. Every time the planet and the earth evolves, humans do evolve. It's the evolution of the planet. It's how it works. It's creation. It's just the way that it goes. As a Wiccan, it can be helpful and quite enjoyable to track spiritual evolution and how it's coming along. All positive life sustaining feelings increase the spiritual evolution. All negative resist spiritual evolution. So if you have a strong desire to develop your spiritual awareness, keeping track of forces such as the planets and how they evolve and how the stars align and astrological events, it's a definite positive evolve upon your energy field. It will aid your spiritual energy field. But remember, if you meet someone who is very negative and not a very nice person, this could be simply because they are not evolving like the rest. They won't evolve until they begin to be positive. And all negative that's within that person, it resists it. So they won't evolve unless they change their own lives. I think that's important to remember. Like, it's okay to try and help someone, but if you're trying to help someone and no changes are being made, understand that this is something that they need to do within themselves. They've got to see their inner light and bring it out and stop being negative, because they will never evolve if they do not. Every single person, every human has an energy field, the human energy field. It comes into play when we're doing a ritual, when we're doing spells. It's energy that's got to be focused. We don't want it unfocused and scattered everywhere. When we are stressed, when we're tense, when something's wrong, generally the energy is scattered and it's not really focused on anything in particular. So this is why we don't do rituals unless we are absolutely in the right mindset, because we would be scattering that energy rather than focusing that energy. It's a reflection of the physical, emotional, and spiritual conditions. When we suffer from diseases and sickness and things like this, it is said that holes in our energy field will appear. Maybe not holes, grey areas can appear, or just shady areas that don't match the rest of that spiritual energy field. It's like a human, it is the aura, it's a human aura, I guess, and it emanates all around you, and it gives tremendous insight into your spirituality. Although it's invisible, there are people who can see this. There are things that you can do to see this. Meditation is one of the most big things to do to gain that spiritual enlightenment. It's a good way of going forward and being able to understand and decode your own human energy field. And this can give you extremely great clues when it comes to your health and wellness, and not just in the now to help you now, but also for the future. You can learn so much from it, honestly, and once you're in tune with it, you have the power to keep yourself at your best health possible, which I think is absolutely amazing. The more you strive to understand all about your energy field and the astrological effects and everything around you, the healthier you may seem to be, it is said. But your rituals will also be so much better, because you'll be able to focus so much and really tune into what you really need. The human body is a powerful transmitter and receiver of energy. This energy acts like electrical currents, bursts in the body. When your senses sort of detect some kind of environmental stress or threat, the cells in the nervous system and the endocrine system work together to prepare you for this. This is energy, It's called fight or flight, basically. But when all's said and done, think about that. That is energy flowing through your body and reacting. I think that's pretty amazing. there's lots of things that can weaken your aura. I mean, the fight or flight is one of them. If you are put in certain situations where it's overstressed at the fight or flight, it will definitely weaken your aura. 1932, Professor Walter B. Cannon, he was of Harvard University, published the classic book, The Wisdom of the Body. And in this book, Dr. Cannon described how the body maintained its physiological health from the Greek word heil, which means wholeness, through the process he termed homeostasis, which we all know what homeostasis is, don't we? We all know that that's, what everything is, our blood, it's the blood within our body and how it works. Homeostasis is absolutely incredible to learn if you start looking really deep into it. According to Cannon, the body has the capacity to maintain its homeostatic wholeness by the use of the feedback process, which I find interesting indeed. And a particular feedback process that travels in sort of energetic highways through our body. It's sort of like a thermostat in a house that regulates temperature. So whenever the temperature in the room gets or above a certain point, obviously, then it gets hotter and the temperature needs regulating to a comfortable setting. But if you disconnect the thermostat, the process does not work through the temperature. It cannot be maintained. This process uses the idea of feedback connection in the same way. The same process is at play in the human body. These feedback connections are fundamental not only to the physiological health and the wholeness, but also to the levels of all nature, really, and the wholeness and the health of all of nature. Just as the sun is connected to the earth by gravity, the brain is connected to the psychological organs by neural hormone and electromagnetic mechanisms in the body. When energy circulates freely, the body has the capacity to be healthy, whole, and complete. This is why you will find that me as a witch studied all this because, yes, it interests me a lot, but being raised the way I were, there were certain things that needed to be studied and learned. And the reason being was to make the rituals more successful. So that is the next part of our Wiccan learning. And after this, we're going to go on all the different layers of the aura, because even though people think the aura is one, it has many layers that we can learn from. Thank you for listening. Love and light.